Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Lüning, Horst Lüning. This is my son Ben, and today we have a closer look at the Johnnie Walker 18 Years Ultimate.
Mm-hmm. This is now
Ultimate. It's kind of petrol. Feed power.
With the most octane.
Most octane.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's actually a bit of a stretch for me, because I know by the time we air this, we've already aired the documentary about the Johnnie Walker archive.
Mm-hmm.
And the interview with Jim
So
Beveridge.
this is the blending facility.
Yes, but I haven't had a look at it because at the time we are recording this, the editing process didn't even start yet. So you probably know more about that as I do. So, but Johnnie Walker is a really, really interesting company.
Yeah. So it's nearly 200 years old. Next year they have when do we air this? In
January somewhere.
January 2020. Then it's 200 years old. And this new bottle, I think, is one of the first to celebrate that 200th anniversary. Mm-hmm. And this bottle has two predecessors. There had been a Johnnie Walker Gold out there with a gold shining card box as well. And this is already several years ago. And then they changed that 18-year-old into a gold reserve without an age statement. And that was more intense. And the 18-year-old went further on to a platinum, which has a little bit of grayness, so platinum gray colored card box, and the same bottle as this one, more sophisticated than the standard Johnnie Walker bottle. And well, now they come to this 18-year Ultimate, and the specialty of this one is that they use malt whiskies from 18 distilleries. 18 distilleries, 18 years of age, the Ultimate 18.
Mm-hmm. Johnnie Walker is a very old company as well. Mm-hmm. And it had, I think, 3 or 4 generations of the Walker family, mm-hmm. which came out of a small farming community and worked themselves up to an international company with their own brands, selling worldwide to over 100 countries.
Yeah, and the most famous or pushing forward guy in that company was Alexander Walker.
Yes.
Not John Walker.
Yes.
Was there a Johnnie Walker?
I think he was called John Walker, and he started the company with his mother in a small shop, and I think he was underage and officially going with his mother, and they sold the farm beforehand, and he was just a grocer in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then he was getting into blending when he was doing his grocery shop. So he was blending whiskeys in bottles special made for like single customers as they arrived, and he didn't make the company that big. His son and then their sons made it really, really big.
Yeah, and the gold, which had the 18 year before, was because the water they sourced for their processes came from a creek in which gold was found.
Ooh,
yeah,
okay.
So a lot of history in that. And here, this is a specialty for the malt whiskey lovers, because this blended whiskey, it's a blend from, as said, 18 malt whiskies and grain whiskies together. And in between those 18-year-old malt whiskies have been Cardew, which is a lead malt to Johnnie Walker.
Yeah, Cardew is the distillery that was actually bought by the Walker family and not by the company later that acquired Johnnie Walker. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the home distillery of Johnnie Walker.
Yeah, Glenelgin, which is tier 2, not that well known, but a wonderful distillery with warm tubs outside. Ochroysk and Blair Ethel, which is very famous for the whiskey, for the blends, and selected beautifully aged island malts for their subtle smokiness. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is typically it's Cardew, it's from the same company, and Talisker, Kalila. What did I say? Kalila, I meant.
You said Talisker.
Yeah.
Maybe they do have a small amount of Talisker in there.
Yeah. As well.
I think that's most smoky is the Kalila.
Yeah.
Most of the smoky content.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So heavy, wonderfully made. So this is a real gift. And it's 40% ABV, priced around 60. So it's not that cheap, but it's not that expensive as modern 18-year-old malt whiskies are. So with 60, it's reasonably priced. Not that smoky.
Mm-hmm. I find it very strange that the Johnnie Walker didn't go more with time. Because if you look at the Johnnie Walker guy, the figure of Johnnie Walker, he by the time he was introduced, he was a very, 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 very modern guy. So usually you had the old Highlander. I think that was the brand from Johnnie Walker back in the day, or for John Walker back in the day. And yeah, they all had the kilt-wearing, beardy, old Highlander Scotsman on the bottle, and he kind of took this new-aged London gentleman. So today, if you make a brand that would be so innovative today, it would be a hipster on the bottle.
Yeah, and then they changed the walking direction.
In
former times, they walked from right to left. Mm-hmm. And I think 20 years ago, they changed the direction for, moving forward. We're all riding from left to right. And so they changed the direction.
It's an old Hollywood rule. If you go from left to right, you're going to the adventure. And if you're going from right to left, you're coming home.
So coming home for
yeah, but
for late night.
Johnnie Walker is a guy who has adventures, who's walking forward.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.
Smell first. So it's a complex one. There's a little spiciness in it, fruitiness, sweetness. So it's all around. Everything is in that. Very little smoke. There is smoke in it, but very little.
Yeah, it's very round, and a sweetness is there. But you do realize it's a blend, so it's a complex one. You have to have a lot of mixtures to get that amount of complexity in there, and also a good amount of age in there to get that complexity. But it's a very mild one. The smoke is very, very faint here.
5 to 8 ppm, just noticeable. Yeah, cheers.
Cheers.
Silky, smooth on my tongue. The grain is smooth, is gentle, and after swallowing, then the complexity arises. There is a big amount of oak in it, but not that bitter one, only the spicy one, and building up in my mouth quite good. There is some nuttiness, almonds, as well as fighting a little bit with some citrus note, but not that fresh, real citrus, but more oranges, but very, very in the background. And the aftertaste is quite long, carrying on my tongue.
It's very round and very mild, except for that little bit of a citrus note and that very faint hint of smoke. It's almost just creamy with a bit of a caramel, with a bit of a mandarin note, a little bit of a fresh note. Maybe there's a little little lemon in the back as well. And it has a bit of that oxidized fruit as well, the dried fruits, but very faint. So the apricots, mandarins, creaminess is I would say, the dominant one. Now in the aftertaste, you do have a little bit of a dark chocolate, that smoke comes through a little bit more, still very faint. But it's a lovely, elegant dram.
Valuable, prestige. You can, well, hand it to your uncle, looking for his money. Yeah, really a very good present and very good content. So this is, for the price, it's a wonderfully made blended whiskey.
Oh, 40%, is it?
Yeah.
It is. And it's around 60. That's actually a really good price.
So it's a lot of vanilla in it, caramel. The smokiness is close to nothing. It's just vanished over the other aromas. Creamy.
And it carries a royal brand.
Yeah.
So
several times, I think.
Must be good.
Yeah. Yeah. So definitely a recommendation. Very good one.
Yeah, I do like it. It's a complex, intense, fruity, sweet, creamy Johnnie Walker with a faint amount of smoked spiciness.
How much malt is in it?
Ooh, a good question. I would say a good amount. I would say 50, 60.
That's my guess. 50.
50?
50 or even a little bit more, yes. But the grain whiskey is just that much that it's creamy and oily.
I think with the more age, it's not as recognizable. If you'd have that with under 10 years of age, you would have a lot of grain taste in it. But with the maturity, you get that grain flavor a bit more out. Yeah. So I would say that. Okay, so yeah, thank you very much for watching. If you like this video, then please feel free to share it with your friends, and see you next time.